Salute, Discipuli. All right, back again for another chapter. This week we are on chapter 28, so go ahead and look at page 231 in your book. Y'all, we're almost there. We have this week and then one more week. Next week we'll, I believe, talk about third declension neuter nouns. Yes, okay, good. So we're gonna cover like the essential things that you need before you can move on to primer C. So yay, that's all good stuff. Okay, so this week we're gonna go back and look. Remember how last week we learned a little bit about your third conjugation verbs and that they were sort of weird because when we conjugate them, they have a weak vowel. Remember that E is so weak that it doesn't hang on to its E power. And we talked a little bit about that. So we're gonna look at that a little more this week. Just to jog your memory, let's see if I can do this without a glare. Okay, the first one up here, this is a first conjugation verb. And we know that it's a first conjugation verb because if we look at the second principal part, the infinitive, we can see that it has that A with a macron right before our RE ending. And we know that that strong A tells us that this is a first conjugation verb. And then this would be an example of a second conjugation verb. And we know that because if we look at the infinitive, that second principal part, we see the strong E right before our infinitive, right before our RE ending, sorry. And so that strong E tells us, oh, this is a really strong E. It's a second conjugation verb. And then last week we learned about our poor little third conjugation verbs. They're so weak. They're so weak. And remember what happens because they're so weak. That E has no power. And so it changes usually to an I, but every now and then, actually only once for the third person plural, we see that it changes to a U. And so when we declined this one last week, we had duco, dukis, dukit, dukimus, dukitis, dukant. So the very last one changed to a U, but the other ones changed to an I. So, all right, that was just sort of to review, get you caught up to where we are, get your mind set for this week's lesson. So, like I said, we're on page 231. We're going to go ahead and chant these real quickly, look at derivatives, and then we'll do a grammar lesson. Shouldn't take too long at all. Should be pretty short and sweet this week. So, let's chant. Here we go.
Here we are in chapter 28. In this chapter we will chant through examples of all three conjugations using amo, video, and duco as our examples. We'll start with amo. Amo, amas, amat. Amamos, amatis, amat.
Amo, amas, amat.
Amamos, amatis, amat. And the second conjugation. Video, vides, videt. Videmus, videtis, videt. Video, vides, videt. Videmus, videtis, videt. And now the third conjugation. Duco, ducis, ducit. Ducimus, ducitis, ducant.
Duco, ducis, ducit.
Ducimus, ducitis, ducant.
Okay, I liked it better in the old, when they redid these books, he redid his chants, and he used to kind of like sing them a little bit more or something, and now he just says them, so that was sort of boring. I like it better when we do the amo, amas, amat, amamos, amatis, amat, but it is what it is. So, all right, that was refreshing your memory, getting that chant fresh in your head, looking at all of our three different conjugations that we've learned so far. Remember, there is one more conjugation, but you won't learn that until the C book. So, okay, vocabulary now. Let's look at the middle of the page and do our vocabulary.
With classical pronunciation. Imago, imaginis, image, copy, likeness.
Imago, imaginis, image, copy, likeness.
Magnitudo, magnitudinous, greatness, greatness.
Magnitudo, magnitudinous, greatness, greatness.
Multitudo, multitudinous, large number, multitude.
Multitudo, multitudinous, large number, multitude.
Mains, mentis, mind, understanding, reason.
Mains, mentis,
mind, understanding, reason. Orbis, orbis, circle, round thing, orb.
Orbis,
Orbis, circle, rounding orb. Pars, partus, part. Portion.
Pars, partus, part. Portion.
Pes, pedis, foot. Foot.
Pes, pedis, foot.
Foot. Piscis, piscis, fish. Fish.
Piscis, piscis, fish. Fish.
Ratio, rationis, reckoning, account, calculation, method, system, reason.
Ratio, rationis, reckoning, account, calculation, method, system, reasoning. Let's get them all in there. Okay.
Here we are in chapter 29.
So when you look at these vocabulary words, what declension do these all belong to? They're all nouns, first of all. But what declension are they? Remember, you look at your genitive ending. The first form that they give you is nominative, singular. The second form they give you is genitive, singular. So imago, imaginis. That's nominative, genitive. So if we look at imaginis, what ending do we have there? We have an is, and it's like that for every single one of these words. So if you think about your chants, these are all going to be third declension nouns, right? Ex, is, eme, es, ibus, es, ibus. And so these all end with is for the genitive, and so we know that they're all going to be third declension nouns. Plus, they give you the gender. And remember, that's because third declension can include masculine or feminine. So they have to tell us the gender so we know, like if we have an adjective, we have to know whether to put the masculine form of the adjective or the feminine form of the adjective. And the only way we're going to know that is if we know what gender our noun is. And so they tell us whether these are masculine or feminine. So anyway, just get in your mind that these are third declension nouns that you're working with. Okay, as far as derivatives, these are pretty straightforward, I think. Like I would love to be with you and hear your thoughts, but I think they're really, really straightforward. Imago, imaginis, I see image, and it means image, copy, likeness, so that makes sense. Magnitudino, magnitudinous, obviously, what do you see in that one? Magnitude. Multitudo, multitudinous, you see multitude, and it means a large number. So like whenever Jesus fed the 5,000, I think in some translations of scripture it says that he fed the multitudes, and just means a great number of people were there. Mens mentis, I love this. It means mind, understanding, reason, and obviously you can see mental would be a good derivative. But have y'all ever taken IQ tests, like where you get online and do a thing and it's supposed to tell you, I don't know, I don't think it's like how smart you are, like trivia. I think it's more like your reasoning skills, your thinking skills, that kind of thing. I think. I could be totally wrong because I've never done it. But there is an organization called the Mensa Society, I believe is what it is. Anyway, it's supposed to be like if your IQ is a certain level, I think you can, I don't know, if you apply to be a member, I don't know what you do, but somehow it's sort of like the Genius Society. Look it up, research it, because I might be spreading false information and this is how rumors get started. But I know there's something where it's the Mensa Society and it has to do with your IQ and whether you're a genius. So take it from there, research it, see if what I'm telling you is accurate or not. What's next? Orbis, orbis, and that is circle. So if you think about our planets revolving around the sun, we say that they are orbiting the sun, right? Pars, partus, part, portion, and I just think part looks kind of like pars, so that's how you can get that. Pes, pedis, if you picture a bicycle, you pedal by putting your feet on the pedal. So pedal would be a great derivative. And years ago, before we had our smartphones that had like built-in, things that count your steps, and we didn't have our little Fitbit watches that we wore and all that, we used to get these things called pedometers, and it was like this little thing that you would, I don't know, you could attach it to your shoe, like tie it on with your shoelace, or you could attach it to your belt or whatever, but it basically would count your steps for you. So that's what a pedometer would do. It would count your footsteps. Piscis, piscis. I really hope y'all don't do the newspaper horoscope stuff. So anyway, they're dumb. Don't do them. But you may know what your sign is because you probably have seen it because it's a part of our culture. So there's Pisces. I think they were born in March, maybe, I don't know. But the symbol for it is a fish. That's where it comes from. And then the last one, ratio or rationis. Obviously I see ratio, like in math, it's sort of like a percentage or whatever, or a proportion, I guess I should say, not a percentage. And then I also see rations, like back in the war days, whenever they had to assign a certain number of things to people, they would ration out goods because goods were not plentiful. Y'all, look what I did. My book was dragging on my dry erase board, and so I erased some of what we need. Let me get this back up real quickly. And actually, I'm going to have to erase some of it because we need to see this for what we're going to do today. Okay, grammar lesson today. Let's look on page, we can skip to page 234 and we will start there. Okay, so I told you at the very beginning before we chanted, remember how I was telling you that the vowel that's in our infinitive is what tells us what conjugation our verb belongs to, right? And so we talked about how our first conjugation has that really strong A. I am laughing because I cannot walk and chew gum at the same time, and right now I'm trying to teach you while I'm trying to write, and this is just not working. So hang on, let me do this really, really quickly. Let's see, Duke-a-ray, Dukesy, Dukedom. Okay, now we're all set. All right. So we talked about how that strong A tells us that we are in our first conjugation, strong E tells us that we are in our second conjugation, and weak E tells us that we are in our third conjugation. So what we're going to learn today, I think my 7th graders already know this, but 6th graders, you may not. And the reason my 7th graders know it is because they have practiced and practiced and practiced while they were learning stuff for their National Latin exam, but you guys haven't done that yet in 6th grade. You get to do that when we come back next year. So what we're talking about today is how do you take, like sometimes we have a verb and we just have a pronoun with it. He loves, you love, they love, right? The pronoun is the subject for the verb. But sometimes we don't want to say that a person loves or he, she, it loves. We want to tell somebody, we want to command them, hey, love God, love your neighbor, love Latin, right? We want to just command to somebody to do something. So that's different. We're not going to put our OST, mustis, endings if we're making a command to a person. And by the way, the big grammar way of saying that is we say that it is imperative. So if you've learned that in your grammar lessons, if you've learned about your 4 different sentence types, we have declarative, imperative, exclamatory, and interrogatory. So this, what we're learning today, if you're familiar with that, is the imperative. It's a command that you give somebody. Okay? So in Latin, the way we're going to do that is we're going to go to our second principal part. We're going to cross off the RE, which is like, you ought to be really familiar with doing that because that's how we find our stem, right? We just cross off the RE and then we take whatever is left and that's our stem that we add the endings to. But here's the deal. It's so easy because when you have your stem, in this case AMA, guess what? You just made a command to one person. That is exactly how you do it. So for example, if I want to say, hey, Aiden, love your brothers. They're really great people. All right? I'm going to say, hey, Aiden, ama your brothers. All right? Don't fight with them. They're such great guys. All right. So ama would be a command to one person. Now, what if I wanted to make a command to more than one person? What if instead of just saying, hey, Aiden, love your brothers, what if I wanted to tell both Aiden and Luke to love all of the other brothers as well? Well, then I would add a TE ending. So I still have my AMA, but I'm going to stick a TE at the ending of it now. Amate. All right? And that's telling more than one person to love. So, for example, let's look at these again. If I wanted to tell one person, if I was talking to Bella and Bella was just feeling really sad because she had been quarantined for so long and she was starting to kind of get in a funk about it. And I wanted to say, hey, Bella, you know what? You need to get outside. Maybe you would feel better if you got outside. Love creation. Love looking at everything that God made. I would say, hey, Bella, I'm my creation. I'm my creation. Get outside and enjoy it, sister. Love it, because that's going to make you feel better. So by doing that, by saying Amma, I'm only telling one person to get out and love creation. I'm telling Bella, hey, Bella, I'm my creation. Just you. Get out and love creation. Enjoy creation. Seriously, I think we all should. I think we need to be outside. That's a whole different conversation. Okay, so that's a command to one person. But if I wanted to say amate, if I'm telling everybody, I'm telling a whole group of people, if I want to say, hey, students, guys, my friends, I love you, and I want you to love Jesus. I love you so much that you need to know the best thing you can do in life. All of you need to love Jesus. Then I'm going to say amate because I'm talking to a group of people. All of you need to love Jesus, okay? So ama is to one person, and it's the exact same thing as the stem. Amate is a command to a group of people, all right? Okay, next, if we look at second conjugation verbs, same thing. If I'm telling one person to look, well, I'm going to go to my infinitive, cross off the RE, and I'm left with my stem, which just so happens to be the command to one person. So if I want to say, hey, Evie, look what I can do. I'm just talking to Evie. I'm just talking to one person. So I'm going to say, would I? Hey, Evie, look. All right? But if I'm talking to both Evie and Grace, and I want both of them to look at what I'm doing, what ending do I add? It's not just would I. It's now going to be woudete. I have to add that te ending to it, and that just lets you know that you're telling two people or more. I mean, you could be telling 200, you could be telling 2,000, you could be telling 2 million. It just means that there's more than one person who this command is directed to. All right? And then lastly, let's look at, now remember this third conjugation, it was a little bit weird, right? Because it has this weak E, and that weak E is going to come into play right here. So you're probably thinking, this will be easy, right? We're just going to cross off the RE, and then whatever we're left with, that's going to be our command to one person. It would be duke. No, it wouldn't. So a lot of times it is. It just so happens that this one is actually a rule breaker, and this one it's just going to be duke. You're not even going to put the E on it. And in fact, if you'll look really quickly at the top of page 235, do you see how you have a section at the top that says irregular imperatives? So they tell you that you have 4 verbs. You have duco, dico, facio, and pharaoh. And those are irregular. Your singular imperative, all that means is a command to one person. That's going to be duke, dick, fuck, and fair. So this happens to be a rule breaker that we would just put duke instead of duque. Most of the time it would be duque, okay? But for those 4 that I just mentioned, it's going to just be duke. But here's the deal. This is where it's a rule breaker. If you're doing it to more than one person, you would think, well, this isn't difficult. I'm just going to do my D-U-C-E. Can you see that? D-U-C-E, and then I'm going to add the T-E. You're so close. You're so close. But remember that weak E is going to make it change. What do you think it's going to change to? Instead of being an E, what does it typically change to? An I. So it's going to be duquete instead of duquete. All right? D-U-C-I-T-E. So when we have a command to more than one person, then that's going to change to an I. All right? And that's just because it's that weak E, just because it is not strong enough to hang on to its E power. Okay, real quickly, while we're on page 235, look at the bottom of that page, and you'll see they're just comparing tenses. So like the first column has verbs the way we've always learned them, where they have an OST, mustis und ending, and that means it's going to have a pronoun as your subject. He walks. to the forum, ambulat ad forum. Or they walk to the forum, ambulant ad forum. But if you look at the second column, it's just a command. It's not saying he, she, it, we, y'all, they. There's no pronoun built into our verb there. So it's just a command. Walk to the forum. Here's the deal. If you're commanding somebody, you always have the same subject, right? I'm saying you do this. Even though you isn't there, it's just understood that it's there. It's just implied. So if I say, for example, Benjamin, come here. And Benjamin comes here. And as soon as he comes here, I say, clean your room. I don't have to say, you clean your room. The you is automatically understood to be the subject of my sentence, okay? And even if it's plural, even if I'm talking to more than one person, if I, let's say that mass chaos had broken out in the Latin room and spitwads were flying and paper airplanes were flying. That would never happen because y'all are too sweet for that. But let's just pretend, okay? Like there was this mass chaos and I walked in and said, Discipuli, stop, come here. And everybody came up to the front of the classroom. And I said, be mature, sit down. It's understood that my subject is you, plural, right? All of you, be mature. All of you, sit down. Right? So we don't have to say you do this thing or y'all do that thing. It's just understood. It's kind of like it's built into the subject. Okay? So that's going to be your subject. It's just we put it in parentheses because it's not really there, but we want to make known that this is what our subject is. So we just put the word you in parentheses. So let me show you this. Look on page 237 and we'll look at an example real quickly. So on page 237, at the top of the page, you could see how the example is give the gift, right? But, so this is really our sentence, dona donum, give the gift. And then in parentheses, they just added you. It's not really a part of the sentence. So they put to in parentheses for Latin, and then down here in the English, they put you in parentheses. All right, and that's just to kind of help you understand as a student of grammar that yes, you have a subject, even though you don't see a word for it in the sentence, it is still there, and so they just are putting it in parentheses to help you kind of acknowledge it. And then your next example down here, you have fear the dog. Oh, so we have Timotei Canum. So if we have Timotei, that TE ending is telling us that it is a command to more than one person. So we still have the understood subject. Our understood subject is you. So we're going to put it in parentheses. In Texas, we would say y'all, right? Y'all beware that dog, right? So we would say y'all, but you can be singular or plural. So it's fine if you just put you in parentheses. So now you're going to do this one on your own for part of your homework, okay? So the example is, I love this example, credite Deo. So you're going to have to say, all right, credite, is that a singular or a plural imperative? And then put your subject in the parentheses and go ahead and translate it off to the side. All right? And then this is another thing that's a little bit different. Down here at the bottom, you see where you're parsing. Usually we do person, number, tense. Well, these are commands. It's not, I mean, of course it's going to be present tense because we're commanding somebody to do something right now, but we don't assign it a tense. When we parse, we just put IMP because we're just letting them know, hey, this is an imperative. It's a command. All right, so you'll just put IMP for that third little thing on your parsing instead of assigning it a tense. So, okay, homework, super short this week. Like, y'all can get it knocked out today if you get started on it. Homework is page 233. You have a story. Page 236, you have a memory worksheet. Page 237, y'all brace yourselves. I don't know if you can stand it all. Page 237, you have two sentences. Two sentences. And you know what? It's the same sentence. At the top, you're translating it. At the bottom, you're parsing it. And you know what else? It's only got 2 words in it. So brace yourselves, right? It's not hard. It's not long. Okay, And then after you finish, I mean, you're probably going to have to take a nap to recover from all of that work. But after you finish with that, page 239 is your quiz. That is it. That's it. Like, I feel like I should come up with something extra to give you this week, but I won't do that because I love you. So I won't do that. But I will tell you this. Page 240, you know how sometimes they'll just give you like cultural stuff? So on page 240, they're talking about medieval food and medieval feasts. That might be fun. You have all this extra time. Cook something for your family. Throw a feast for your family. That could be cool. Anyway, all right, that is it. Am I starting to go crazy? I think that quarantine is starting to jack with my head a little bit. Anyway, all right, that is it. And next week, we will have our very last lesson. And then y'all get to have a summer break after that. So, all right, I say it every week, but I say it because it's true. I look forward to seeing you in person again. Love you guys. Walate.